Shunya Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Guru Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, we were supposed to start with Aditi Ganga Mataji, if she's on. I didn't see her, so maybe we can come back to her later. I think next was Devi Murti Mataji. I see she's online.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can somebody share the screen? Oh, it's here.
Yeah, it's 100. Yeah,
So,
starting on the page.
We are reading from But As, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. But as Gopal Krishna was still in Brooklyn in 1974, all of this was merely in seed-like form, a brainchild that Prabhupada was just starting to put into effect. In 71, 72, and 73, says Gopal Krishna, apart from my job, I was trying to cultivate Indians to become life members as my service for the temple. Prabhupada encouraged this. I would go out with Kirti Raj for some time and then Dhira Krishna, who was a brahmachari at that time. It seemed that service was preparing me for working in India, and Prabhupada was expressed concern to me about preaching in India too. He wanted to get the right man in charge to oversee things in the subcontinent. I didn't know it at that time, but he was grooming me for that task. After the GBC was initially, can somebody move the page through? After the Governing Body Commission, GBC was initially formed in 1970, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, one of Prabhupada's most trusted and competent disciples, was appointed GBC of India. In essence, he lasted until 1974. Although others leading devotees such as Bhagwan, Karandhar, and Jagdish would all temporarily fill in for him. But since they were all Westerners, unaccustomed to Indian ways, procedures, and zigzagged, their endeavors inevitably fell short. India had a high turnover of GBCs. Gopal Krishna remembers, they would come and go. Srila Prabhupada was in great anxiety over this, and he was streamlining, hoping to find the right person. Of course, Prabhupada himself was always the actual GBC in India, but still, so he could write his books and manage the aspects of his moment, he needed someone who could function as GBC there, someone familiar with the country and its ways. So Rupanuga, one of Prabhupada's senior-most disciples, wrote to him in November or December of 1974, suggesting, you are having a hard time finding a GBC for India. Why don't you make Gopal Krishna the GBC? And Prabhupada wrote back that same month, yes, very good idea. Make Gopal Krishna the GBC right away for all of Asia. Rupanuga, who had been GBC for entire East Coast at that time, reaffirms the incident.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay. Next, there are a few devotees, but I don't see them here on the line online. So I'll just quickly call out if Govind Madhav Prabhu is here, Hamsanitai Prabhu, Jadurani Mataji. If not, I see next is Jai Govind Prabhu.
Rupanuga speaking here. He was an executive at Pepsi and one of the few dedicated Indian devotees who had at that time. Prabhupada had expressed concern to me repeatedly that we lacked qualified management in India. So I naturally suggested Gopal. He had managerial experience from Pepsi and other major companies, so he was highly competent and qualified from that particular perspective. He also was Indian himself and spoke Indian languages. And most importantly, he was totally dedicated to Prabhupada's mission. Well, Prabhupada immediately liked the idea, approving 100%, but asking him not to give up his job right away until he left for India. There was much to do, and Prabhupada was not to act, and there was much to do, and Prabhupada was not one to act prematurely, but he wanted Gopal to assume the task. Of this, there was no doubt. In March 1975, Gopal Krishna attended ISKCON's huge Mayapur festival in India, along with the major GBC meeting that occurred at that same time. It was resolved at that meeting officially that his zone would include India as well as Southeast Asia, excluding Japan, the Philippines, and Indonesia, which would be governed by other leading devotees. Prabhupada was confident he had finally found the right man for India. Gopal Krishna remembers this initial time in the subcontinent. Prabhupada sent me to India in December because that was only a few months before the GBC meeting in March 1975. That was my first meeting as GBC. On the way, I stopped in Bombay. The area called Hare Krishna land was ours, but a new struggle was starting in terms of building and logistics. We were not getting permission to start the construction because, well, we had many people at the time who were not out for the better interests in Bombay. It's a long story. Anyway, Prabhupada had called Bhavananda from Kenya to deal with it. In fact, Prabhupada was in Nairobi, Kenya at the time, and they were driving to the airport or somewhere. He saw the Hilton Towers and liked it very much. So he had Brahmananda take a picture and send it to Surabi, our devotee architect. Surabi made 2 towers for Juhu Bombay based on the model of the Hilton Towers. The first thing Prabhupada told me in Bombay was to complete the building in 6 months, which, try though we did, was not possible. Then I went to Mayapur and took charge of the GBC, but the real GBC was always Prabhupada. It wasn't an easy job being GBC in India, so we had many senior sannyasis there, like Gargamuni, Achyutananda, Jayapataka, etc. And so it's really combined effort. They all predicted that, like my predecessors, I wouldn't last more than a few months. It was a common joke there. Managing India was always difficult. It still is very difficult. People see the external features. They see everything is booming, but there are also a lot of problems. It's hard work, especially to get it right. It was at that time too that Prabhupada put him in charge of the BBT in India, which would go on to become one of the largest BBTs in the world. His training in management, as well as his witnessing the book production in Brooklyn, would now bear fruit. I got the book printing started, he says, thinking back to his first days as a GBC man in India. Until 1975, he continues. We used to import books from Los Angeles, but soon enough, Prabhupada wanted us to start printing books in India, naturally. At that time, there were only English books, which again came from Los Angeles. Rameshwar, who was in charge of the LA BBT, was sending the books free of charge from California, but it just wasn't enough in terms of the books being only in English. In a place where people speak various Indian languages, and just the logistics of sending overseas, the time lapse and so on, it was impractical and ineffective. Naturally, one of Gopal Krishna's first orders of business was engaging a translating team. The books had to be rendered in several common Indian dialects as soon as possible. Once this was in motion, the devotees under his command started their own printing efforts, and BBT India was born. We started off with the translation in Hindi and then to Gujarati, he remembers. And gradually we produced Prabhupada's books in other Indian languages, Bengali, Telugu, Oriya, Marathi, Nepali, Tamil, Kannada, Kannada, and so on. Also, we did Back to Godhead in Hindi and Bengali, and now, of course, in many other languages. Srila Prabhupada was always encouraging Gopal Krishna to publish new books. And when he presented Prabhupada with the first copies of the Srimad Bhagavatam in Hindi languages, his guru's pleasure was beyond words.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So that concludes our second chapter, right, Prabhu? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right, we can start this chapter, right, Prabhu? So next is Meenakshi Mohini. And then after that is Prakash Singh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. How many paragraphs should I read?
3 paragraphs. Everybody reads 3 paragraphs.
Hare Krishna. The year 1975 was a turning point for ISKCON in India. Gopal Krishna was now GBC, and the movement would inevitably come of age. There were many reasons for this, not the least his profound qualifications, both spiritually and as a manager. He was, of course, building on the work of his predecessors. Prabhupada had paved the way from the very beginning, and the Prabhupada's hardworking disciples, from Jayapataka Swami to Tejavas Prabhu, developed the preaching field by following his lead. The trajectory is interesting. Prabhupada had concentrated his efforts on Western countries from his arrival in America in 1965 until roughly 1971, when he divided his time between his Western mission and India. By 1975, his accomplishments around the world were prodigious, and his work in India too bore the most succulent fruit. 4 temple projects in particular paved the way for all the others: Bombay, Calcutta, Mayapur, and Vrindavan. Briefly, Prabhupada had wanted land near Mumbai's Juhu beach from the beginning of 1970s, giving his disciples the mandate to acquire it as soon as possible. This was among the biggest cities of India, and ISKCON's work would not be complete without a major presence there. By the beginning of 1972, an agreement was signed, and though living in a small shack on a newly acquired property, Prabhupada's vision of a majestic temple for Lord Krishna slowly took place. Due to a complex series of events, both in terms of legality and logistics, it was not opened until 6 years later, in January 1978, approximately 2 months after Prabhupada departed the world. But at that time, the Juhu temple complex opened in all its glories as a spacious marble structure with an auditorium, restaurant, and a twin-towered 7-story guest house.
Prakash Singh Prabhu. I see you're on the line.
Hare Krishna, Nandavat Pranam, Guru Maharaj ki Jai. Yes, sir. Also in the beginning of the 70s, Prabhupada has sent Jayapataka Swami to India, where the latter served as the president of ISKCON's Calcutta Center, which was being maintained by a handful of devotees in the nearly deplorable conditions. By mid-71, as the temple began to show promise of improvement, and devotees came from all around the world to develop them and nurture it, Prabhupada sent Jayapataka, among others, to nearby Mayapur, where they were entrusted to develop Sri Chaitanya's Holy Land. I had given you the kingdom of God, Prabhupada said. Now develop it and enjoy it. It was in these early days of the movement that both Calcutta and Mayapur temple was initiated. and very gradually evolved into the mammoth project they are today. Yes, can you? Thank you, Prabhuji. Mayapur especially had become profoundly significant throughout the subcontinent. Its first modest parcel of land was secured in 1971, and then it experienced a tremendous push forward in 1973. The temple was largely completed in 1974 and was known as Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir, renowned as the most important temple dedicated to Sri Chaitanya in the region of his birth. To be sure, it prospered in increments, but in the late 70s, it was clearly a testament to ISKCON's enduring contribution to the Gaudiya tradition. Plans are currently underway to complete Prabhupada's plan for a Vedic planetarium, transforming this mandir into perhaps the most important temple in all of India. If Mayapur is important as a birthplace of Sri Chaitanya, its counterpart in Uttar Pradesh is equally important. Vrindavan's Krishna Balaram Mandir, a grand opening of which occurred in April 1975. Attended by thousands of devotees from around the world, it was a culmination of a 10-year legal struggle to establish an ISKCON temple in the sacred land of Lord Krishna. Today, the Krishna Balaram Mandir is counted as one of the traditional places of pilgrimage for all those who visit Vrindavan, whether they are ISKCON devotees or not. Indeed, ISKCON's presence in Vrindavan is now established as an irrevocable fact. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Krishna.
thank you. Reena Mataji. And next is Salakshana Gaurangi Mataji after that.
Yeah, I already am.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Dhanyavad Prabhu. Vrindavan's proximity to Delhi is significant, and with the former's ever-growing fame, the latter's destiny was already written. Other important ISKCON projects gradually arose in India as well, but with these four extraordinary and gargantuan attainments as a backdrop, particularly that of Vrindavan, the Delhi temple would rise as a matter of course. Indeed, as one of India's largest and most important cities, Prabhupada would not have it any other way. Delhi's early history and Prabhupada's own example of living and preaching there, and his repeated assertions that Delhi should have many magnificent temples would be more than enough to make it happen. It would only take the right person to bring it to bear. And in 1975, when ISKCON's presence in India was finally making itself known, Gopal Krishna arrived with full regalia, with only time separating him from his destiny. The land is secure. In April 1975, says Gopal Krishna, the Delhi temple was a small house in Bengali market, which is close to the downtown area. We had a small 3-room flat. We also rented a flat in an adjacent building on the second floor where Prabhupada could stay whenever he was there. Back then, we only had the Radha Parthasarathi deities, and the head priest was a French devotee named Omkar. He has since passed away. Tejias was the president at the time, and I was the GBC. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Should I read further, Prabhu?
I think, yeah, one more paragraph, right, Mataji? Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu. In any case, he continues, it was Prabhupada's great desire that we have a good, solid temple in Delhi. Many of them, actually. Up until Prabhupada's departure in 1977, We were at Feroz Gandhi Road in Lajpat Nagar. We didn't get this land until Prabhupada was there. From Feroz Gandhi Road, we moved to Greater Kailash in 1979 or 1980. At Feroz Gandhi Road, we had a rented house, and at Greater Kailash, we had purchased that building from a school teacher. BBT gave a grant. At that time, Jaya Tirtha had become co-GBC with me in Delhi for a few years. With his help, we got the BBT grant, through which we purchased the building and moved to Greater Kailash. Lokanath Swami was the president in Greater Kailash at the time, and he did tremendous work in that area. We had many presidents, Yagya Das, Trikalachya, among others. I met Trikal. Prabhu, how do you speak that word? Trikalagya. Trikalagya in England, and we got to know each other quite well. Then I invited him to India. That's where it all began in terms of our President Delhi temple. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, Sulakshana Garangi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dhanavad. And so it was that the search for land in Delhi commenced. Lokanath Swami worked closely with Gopal Krishna, and it became a daily affair, hunting there every walking hour. Where and how will we get the appropriate piece of land? An application was soon submitted to the Delhi Development Authority. Lokanath Swami was with me for some time, says Gopala Krishna, and we came up with this idea of Glory of India project together. So we applied for land sometime in the 1980s, but it was a real struggle to get a substantial commitment. They had made a presentation to Jaganmohan Malhotra, known simply as Jagmohan, in political circles. He was at the time a renowned civil servant and politician, the vice chairman of the DDA, and he was sympathetic to their cause. They presented the entire endeavor to him as a unique concept. This would not be an ordinary temple, but a museum, a cultural Glory of India project. Naturally, this appealed to him. Thus, the devotees were initially granted the land of their choice, but all was not so easy. They suffered opposition from a prominent Muslim minister known as Mohsina Kidwai, who during this particular period held a variety of important leadership roles within the Congress party, including General Secretary of the All India Congress Committee, AICC. As a result, Gopal Krishna went to the DDA headquarters nearly every day with Radha Ramandas, his assistant at the time, and they would sit for multiple hours, tolerating bureaucracy and what turned out to be a long struggle to get the land. I think 3 paragraphs done, Prabhu.
Yeah, I think you can finish this also, Mataji. The next
Okay,
one.
thank you. At first, the DDA wanted to renege on the land altogether, ostensibly because it was grain belt property, meaning that it was desirable territory and construction was not allowed. They were offered another land, but Gopal Krishna was insistent on this land, and he held forth tenaciously. He remembers that time period. Okay,
Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
thank
I
you.
don't know if Rajradha Mataji is there on the call. I don't see her name. So if not, then we can go to Leela Krishna Prabhu. I see you're there.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Hare Krishna, Dhanavad Pranam. Okay, a lot of red tape when we finally got the land. They pointed out that this is the greenbelt area, which meant that it was reserved land. Greenbelt referred to a zone designations involving the largely undeveloped, wild or agricultural land that surrounded urban areas. Much desired real estate. On the government map, this place was called the Govardhana because it was a hilly region No doubt, but of course, the name is auspicious and has a special meaning for us as a Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Anyway, they told us that they wanted the land back. In this way, we went back and forth. Mohsina Kidwai was the Minister for Urban Affairs at that time, and at first she had reservations about giving us the land. So we had to sit in their office for hours and hours, and that actually lasted for a few years. But we were persistent. I gave her a present of a Quran, which I had been gifted by a printer in Bombay, and I think that that was a breakthrough moment, but we kept on. I would chase her everywhere. Finally, she sighed. She relented. It was a big elections campaign. We caught up with her in Meerut, which is about 1 hour from Delhi. She was campaigning there. The other officials had already approved the land, as I said, but we were awaiting her signatures, which was required for the deal to go through. Anyway, she signed. After that, there was still a succession of the formalities, but the deed was done because she ultimately relented and gave her signatures. Finally, in the 1982, we met the education minister, Mrs. Sheila Kaur, and with her help and that of Mr. Jagmohan, we obtained the land. After getting the land, the questions become how to build the temple. There was a devotee called Mr. C.J. Dev, Chaturmasya Das, who was an engineer working for a steel plant. He became a devotee in Bombay. Then I found out about his background and requested him to go to Delhi and take charge as a project director. He did amazing work. If it was not for him, he wouldn't have been able to build this temple. In India, there is a lot of cheatings that goes into the constructions business. So once I had him there, I felt assured because he was qualified and honest. He preached to A.P. Kanvinde, the renowned architect, and got him involved. That was the pivotal. Even now, architecture students come to study the style of this temple building because it is the work of the Kanvinde. It is considered an architectural achievement. Chaturmasya brought Kanvinde to me. I preached to him and he ultimately did the entire project for free. I told him that you have done many projects which gave you fame, but this project will give you the fame that will go on forever. Still, it took time for him to make the commitment.
Thank you, Prabhu.
That's it, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The next is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and after that, Nanda Dulal Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Achyut Purushottam Kanvinde, 1916 to 2002, was educated at Harvard, honored by the Indian government, particularly with the much coveted Padma Shri Award, and was frequently sought after for the design of projects like institutes, hospitals, and universities throughout the world. This project, mused Kanvinde, during the very beginning of the construction, came to me as a surprise. When the idea of designing a temple was put in my path, he reflected, I was of a dual mind, whether to reproduce the kind of temple existing 600, 700, or 800 years back, or to have a temple appropriate to the present time and technology. He elaborated on his plans during the first stages of the project. After all, what existed then between 500 AD and 1100 AD was an outgrowth of the knowledge and techniques available at that time. When temples were first built, even the knowledge of mortar was unknown. Temples were done with vaults and arches and domes, all a product of stone piled upon stone. There developed a great technology, all related to stone. But now we have cement and concrete and steel. And therefore, to express our time, we will have to have a temple that shows our association with the past, expressed in the technology of the present. I was not keen to imitate the past, but we should be inspired by the past. What we are building is not a temple alone. It is an institution where learning and practicing and devotion all take place. That's what we hope this will be in course of time. That's the theme. And that's what indeed came to pass. The temple now stands in full glory in an affluent residential neighborhood in South Delhi, on the land secured in the area once known as Govardhan, right near a major shopping thoroughfare. The neighboring regions are Kailash Hills, Kailash Colony, Mount Kailash Apartments, Greater Kailash, Lajpat Nagar, Chittaranjan Park, and Zamrudpur, all highly populated and desirable living sectors, fulfilling both residential and commercial purposes. The National Institute of Open Schooling, NIOS, whose headquarters in some ways define this region, adds to its prominence.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Nandadulal Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam. All glories to all God brothers and sisters. Trikalanja Dasa. Am I in the right paragraph there, Prabhu?
Lokanath, let's start from Lokanath Swami. Saw it as a major.
Oh, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Lokanath Swami saw a major conquest. The actual location of the land at Sant Nagar was really good because they're right next to the Nehru Place, which was a major office shopping center at the heart of South Delhi. The land was also adjacent to Baha'i Lotus Temple, which had already become a local landmark and tourist attraction. Although the Sant Nagar land was just 3 acres, we decided that this was the ideal location for our project. Construction begins soon. Building the temple did not come easily. If procuring the land was difficult, the actual construction would take miracles. Just prior to this effort in 1981, Gopal Krishna was awarded sannyasa. He renounced the renounced order of life. Trikananda Dasa. Oh, am I?
Start on the right side over the top.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much for your assistance. Becoming a Swami, Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he increased the service around the world and would soon become an initiating guru with disciples of his own. Srila Prabhupada had recently left the planet in 1977. As a duty to his guru, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, along with a number of Prabhupada's other disciples, found it both meaningful and necessary to bring new souls into the fold. This would help Maharaj's endeavor in Delhi for a new temple that would acquire dedicated souls and considerable manpower. Do I continue on? Trikalanda Dasa was one such soul, having met Gopal Krishna Maharaj and being inspired by him in early 80s. Maharaj introduced him to the Glory of India project during the planning stages, almost a decade later, and it became a major service for him. We had 3 potential architects, Trikalanda remembers, but none of them was really viable. Then I got a call from Raja Prabhu in Bombay, and he said, I have a retired engineer, a director of a company called Dastar and Company in Bombay. It's a very big enterprise, and he's a director. So he knows all about construction. Also, he's interested in helping us.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thanks, Prabhu.
We have Bhakti Yoga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Needless to say, I was very excited. And the next thing I knew, he had requested this gentleman who turned out to be Chaturmasya Das to contact me. And before long, he came over and joined us practically the next weekend. Together, they decided upon AP Kanvedi, mentioned above, who had recently relocated to Delhi. When we found out about him, says Trikalagya, we arranged an appointment and went to see him in his office. After a few pleasantries, he said, look, I am 70 plus in terms of age. And at this point, and I'm retired. I'm really sorry, but I cannot take this project, which of course was terribly disappointing to us. So Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, okay, where am I now? Oh yeah, Lokanath Swami and our other ISKCON leaders were wondering what to do. We knew that Kanvendi, or whatever, was the right man for the job, without doubt, but he was unwilling. So one day, Gopal Krishna Maharaj and I were sitting in the office, and suddenly Maharaj said, "Tonight we should go and see him." And we made plans to go straight to his home. Our plan was to round up an international group of devotees and impress him that we were non-sectarian and all-embracing, and that this was the project of universal importance. Sorry, I have a small screen, so I have to try to open it up so that my old eyes can see what I'm reading. The results of that visit were nothing short of miraculous. Maybe half a dozen devotees made their way to Mr. Kanvende's house. The premises were huge, worthy of a man of his stature, with a foyer area that included a long staircase settling directly in front of the main doorway. As Krishna would have it, just as the devotees rang the doorbell, Kanvende had descended to the bottom of the steps, leaving him right near the entrance. Thus, although the butler would have normally opened the door, now on this particular occasion, Kanvende tended to the task himself. When he did and saw the devotee standing there, a look of amazement crossed his face. After all, he had clearly told them no. But here they were, determined and hoping for an alternate answer. As his eyes scanned the group of assorted practitioners in the midst of representatives from Western countries, Africa, and elsewhere, as well, including Gopal Krishna Maharaj, in the saffron clothes of an Indian Swami, he felt compelled to invite them in. More, they had come bearing gifts, a gesture that had visibly touched him. They had individually wrapped the many volumes of Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam to give him as a present, tied creatively with colorful bows.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, Jagannath Prabhu and Gopal Prabhu, I know we kind of, everybody who was supposed to read today have gone through, and I know we also have read close to 40 minutes. Should we open up for reflections now or continue?
Maybe we can just finish this part. I think it's a few more paragraphs, just this, because it's very hard to leave at this point.
Yeah.
I can read if you want. I can read, and then maybe, well, Jagannath Priya Prabhu, would you like to read first? And then I can...
Go ahead, it's all right. You read. I can read next time, sure. Thank you.
Entering the premises, they had placed the books on a side table. And Maharaj asked one of the devotees to request a pair of scissors for cutting the ribbons, which Kanvende himself went to get. By the time he returned, his wife and servants had arrived as well. Just then, he clipped the ribbon and opened the first Bhagavatam, inspecting it closely. Maharaj started explaining it to him. What Prabhupada did was to translate the ancient Sanskrit text and then provide easy to understand yet profound commentary. Maharaj also personally showed him the book's paintings. This art is done by Americans and Russians and many others around the world. So these books are thorough presentations with text and visuals. They have the ability to change lives. Trikalagya, who was personally present, tells the rest of the story. About 15 minutes had passed. We were just standing in his foyer, presenting the Bhagavatam to him, volume after volume. And then finally he told his wife, "Please go, get some fruits and nuts for these devotees and some milk too." And he invited us into his lounge to sit down. This was promising. We were just talking, mainly philosophy and simple pleasantries, and we didn't talk about the project at all. This was a strategy.
Maharaj was just explaining our tradition, leaving Kanvinde and his wife mesmerized, allowing them to enter into it. It was something to behold, and finally, when it was time to leave, Kanvinde said, "Okay, please come to my office tomorrow to discuss this. I will do the project for you." You can't imagine how we felt. He further said, "I am now realizing that all my life I did my work for non-devotees. These were mundane projects, but this is my great opportunity to reach perfection in my work by building a temple for Krishna." Unquote. He understood, he really understood, just the fact that devotees were there, international devotees, and Maharaj in his glowing saffron with Bhagavatam in hand. How could you go wrong, right? And he looked at those pictures and read a few paragraphs. So he was now associating with the Lord directly through Prabhupada's books. This was the beginning of getting our architect into the project. It may be 1991 or 1992, which is when we moved here onto the site. So the next morning when we went to his office and on the way, we were thinking that although he said yes, which is great, how much would he in fact charge, right? After all, he was a big-time architect. First things first, though, he committed. That was huge in itself. Anyway, we went and we were discussing the philosophy with him again and said, "We are very grateful that you have accepted the project. It is a very important project." We briefed him on Prabhupada and the importance of Prabhupada's preaching all over the world. We told him that we want to make this project as glory of India. So you should include everything in the design. South, east, north, west. It shouldn't just be a North Indian temple. He liked the plan and was behind it right away. He was ecstatic, and to our amazement, he said he would do it for free. Totally amazing. Krishna's grace. Krishna's grace, yes. Shri Gurudev ki
Jai.
Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki
Jai. Oh, Srila Bhagavapada ki jai.
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 So we have now time for comments and realizations, reflections on what we read. If anyone would like to offer some comments.
Okay, this is Leela Krishnadas. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So it's very nice. I think this is the first time I heard before also, the last, like when we were reading, but I didn't know that much of detail, like so much of difficulties, right? The getting the land in that period. The land was so sufficient in Delhi area, but when I was reading and I was listening to this, it was so amazing that Maharaj has to went through so difficulties. Now we are just visiting the temple and we are enjoying the prasadam and seeing the deity now. But the behind the scene, how much of the work, right? Maharaj and other Maharaj named Loknath Maharaj, and they went through so many the difficult phases and meeting all the politicians. It's amazing us. And we have to take that as an advantage, what Prabhupada left his legacy, and after that, so many Maharaj and our Guru Maharaj did for so many generations to get that thing, right? So it's really thankful, and thanks for this kind of association. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, His Holiness Radha Gokulananda Maharaj, who used to be Raghav Prabhu, he was telling that now in Delhi, land is sold by the square inch. Especially that area, it is so expensive, sold by the square inch. And at that time, Guru Maharaj got 3 acres in the best area, the place in Govardhan. And one thing that I heard when I was there, like many years ago, that Guru Maharaj would go to this government office, the DDS or whatever is mentioned, and there he would sit. So the man or the lady would come out at 5, or they had to come out of the office, right? So they wouldn't give him the opportunity to meet them. But he knew that at a certain point, this politician has to come out of the office. Like, they have to leave.
Yeah.
So he would sit
Right.
there and he would wait until they would actually leave. And when they were walking out the door, then he would do that. And another thing that Maharaj did was he took some vow that until he gets that land, he's only going to eat pumpkin or something like this. Like, he personally also took many vows just to get that piece of land. And when they got it, it wasn't like, it was not something ordinary, because everyone knew that was the best land. And very similar to Juhu, where the land was given to Prabhupada and then the man tries to take it back, the same thing happened. And that's why Guru Maharaj was even Prabhupada was not on the planet. Guru Maharaj knew that this was the land, because it was the same story like Juhu. He was given the land and then they took it back. They wanted to take it back. After giving it, they realized how valuable it was. And so then he was fixed that, no, I'm going to get this for Krishna. So yes.
Very nice.
Bhakti Yoga Prabhu, I think you had.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So yes, this is this story of Guru Maharaj sitting outside the politician's office every day, waiting for her to come out, is reminiscent of Srila Prabhupada sitting outside of Sumati Mukherjee's office every day, waiting for a passage on Jaladuta for all of us. So Guru Maharaj learned from his Guru Maharaj how to be persistent and how to be relentless in executing our devotional service for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Wow. Yes. Actually, that's a really nice point, Prabhu. It's so similar. Yes. Rupanuga Prabhu, you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. As I was listening, two things occurred to me. One is the power to transform the heart of other people simply from devotee association and just touching Srimad Bhagavatam, the book. And I think we see from this example very clearly how Mr., and I did not quite catch the name, the architect's heart transformed completely.
Kanvinde, yes.
Okay, Kanvinde. His heart transformed completely. And he was not only willing to cooperate, but cooperate for free, which is a major change of heart for people who are, for the most part, being in their materialistic lifestyle. So I attribute that to the power of devotee association and literally simply touching Srimad Bhagavatam, the book. And the second point that hit me was the quality of patience. As Bhakti Yoga Prabhu said, Srila Prabhupada showed that, and our Guru Maharaj showed that quality of patience. Okay, let's play this game. You want to avoid me? I'm patient. I'll wait for you until you cannot avoid me. And literally force them to pay some attention and appreciate the perseverance and the patience of the people to understand the quality of the people they are dealing with, and therefore, once again, have this transformation of the heart. So, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. No, that is so amazing that you mentioned. And I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking how when they go and visit him, Guru Maharaj being the best strategist and also devotee, he didn't mention anything about him taking up the job. He just says, just see the books, just see the devotees. And he never asks him for anything. He just waits for him to say it. And then this man says, I will do it. It's so amazing. Yeah. And like Bhakti Yoga Prabhu was saying, like Prabhupada Guru Maharaj is so much like Prabhupada, like he would just follow his example. But yes, Prabhu, thank you so much for reminding us about Guru Maharaj's, his way of, connecting with people. And also he has this, like Prabhupada, he has the disease of not being able to not think big. He has to think big. So he had to get the best architect. It's like, I mean, just getting the land was good enough.
That's right.
Such a nice thing. Many hands are up here. Bhakti Yoga Prabhu, did you have a further comment? I saw your hand go up.
Oh, yes. I was just saying that Guru Maharaj is actually showing an example for some of us who are involved in projects, how to be determined to get what we want for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. So if it takes sitting at somebody's doorstep every single day and taking the humble role, but also being able to show how well we're able to execute a particular project and do it for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. Srila Prabhupada actually saw this quality in Prabhupada, and that's why he told him, I want you to build 18 temples in Delhi. I want you to build these temples in Mayapur and Kurukshetra, etc. He said, you can make Delhi your office. And from there, you can do all this work. You don't need to be in each place, because Prabhupada saw how capable Guru Maharaj was, that he can simply just sit in one spot and get everything done. So here Guru Maharaj is showing the example. You can do the same as well. You can sit in one spot and get everything done. So don't use it as an excuse that you can't do things. Just do it, as that commercial says.
Wow. Yes, Prabhu. Amazing. Wow. And it's so true. Like from Delhi, all these other things came. Because Delhi has all the politicians, and Guru Maharaj actually said this once, all the politicians are there. So if you needed to do something in Kurukshetra or anywhere, any city in India, all the permissions come through Delhi, isn't it? Wow. Garuda Hari Prabhu. Unmute yourself, Prabhu. Unmute.
Hare Krishna. Mine no have so much comment. Just have one question. Jagannath Priya Prabhu, thank you for giving up to date. Guru Maharaj coming Monday. After that, we got all the Jagannath Priya Prabhu giving the up to date. We so happy about Guru Maharaj health. And just I request maybe Jagannath Priya Prabhu asking to Guru Maharaj giving one short message for world devotee and disciples. We into here for Guru Maharaj. Only see Guru Maharaj only walking, other thing. We need to some boys need to hear. And today, just I'm saying, like Guru Maharaj, how great we are. Just one house maintain purpose. We do so hard work. One small house, 4 members, one car. 30-40 years go there to covering everything. And Guru Maharaj alone, how many temple he maintaining, how many disciples, cars. So we have to the knowledge to understand to still read Guru Maharaj. So this thing only small things I need to say. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So I think everyone has seen Guru Maharaj's videos and pictures. He's back at Radha Parsarthi temple. I think Advaita Acharya Prabhu, he's flying back today. He is not able to join the call. I wish he was here. He would give the latest update. He was with him for the last few weeks. Okay. But
we just got back to home.
Okay, Advaita Acharya Prabhu, go ahead, please. Give update. He just came back from Delhi. Advaita Acharya Prabhu.
Haribol.
Yeah, Haribol, go ahead. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, just coming to the home.
Right time.
Minute ago.
Right time.
Yes, right time. Yes.
We didn't even give you a minute, Prabhu. We need to know right now.
I just walked in. Nice. So yes, I think it was for me is a pleasure trip. A little bit stressful, but nice. Guru Maharaj is getting better. I'm sure everybody knows the videos, right? Seeing the video. He is not supposed to go to altar, but that's our Guru Maharaj. He just, you cannot argue with him. And if you say, then he just cut you off and says, but I think he's little bit understanding. His vitals are stable. His appetite is still little low. I think still a lot of devotees trying to see him. Even they repeatedly advise not to, but Prabhupada disciples, some senior sannyasis, they cannot control, right? And now is a Mayapur festival going on, happens soon, so a lot of outside devotees coming. So, but still, we have discussed at length with the management, and we advise that maybe 1 or 2 or 3 visits at the most, with a brief visit with Guru Maharaj. And I think they're trying to control. So I think everybody's advised that not to call and not to see him. The reason is that once you're there, Guru Maharaj spend time, and he does not get enough rest. Because Guru Maharaj's style, we all know that he does not sleep 3-4 hours straight anyway. He maybe 30-40 minutes he sleep and then wake up again and call somebody and do something and then go back to sleep again. So rest is a problem. He still do his full deity service in the morning. He wants to go to altar also. We advise not to go right now, but we allow maybe once a week or twice a week we can do what you call Sringar Arti, just for presence there. But overall, yes, he's stable. We're feeling better. And I think we still need to continue to pray every day in our prayers that he can get better and better. So overall, yes, Maharaj is improving. Is a lot of relief. But those devotees who wants to maybe text him, that's the best things to do, because his sannyas, because his servant will definitely inform Guru Maharaj that, okay, let's say XYZ has called, and Guru Maharaj says, okay. So the best thing is to text or maybe or call if you really have to. But if you want to wait for a couple of more weeks, that's great. And I told Guru Maharaj that yes, Guru Maharaj, every week we started reading Glory of India book, and he was happy. So
Thank you,
nice.
Prabhu, for bringing blessings to all of us.
Yes, no, he was very happy that I'm supposed to bring some books, but ultimately, last minute I did not get the books. I was waiting, but somehow it was miscommunicated. But I think
Prabhu put your video, we can take your darshan.
Oh, I do not know. Where is my?
Yeah. It just came from airport after 20-hour ride.
This is just Krishna.
Prabhuji have some Guru Maharaj energy inside face, so we see Prabhuji then we got the mercy.
Just Krishnan was on the video, so I just connected. This is phone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. I'm happy, and everything is stable.
Well, all of you are taking such nice care of him, Prabhu. That's why.
Thank you. I think now the Delhi devotees I have lots of respect for Delhi devotees. Their devotional service is great. Especially all the servants. All the servants are good. They're really dedicated. And the management people are also good. I think we should really thanks to every devotees. They really have to work very hard. They are constantly on their feet to serve Guru Maharaj. So I think we can appreciate our devotees, God brothers.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you very much.
So I think Dulal Prabhu is waiting, but just wanted to comment quickly. Chatur Masha Prabhu, he's one of the engineer who helped with this project, and Guru Maharaj really appreciated him. So Chatur Masha Prabhu was not doing very well toward the end of his life. He was in New Jersey, so Guru Maharaj requested us to track him down, and Guru Maharaj personally went to see Chatur Masha Prabhu, and he spent the time with him. And then Prabhu, after maybe a year after that, he left body, and then Guru Maharaj told Delhi devotees that let's do a Pushpanjali program, though they did small arati, and Guru Maharaj personally did arati. So he really respected Chaturmasya Prabhu. He said because of him, and it's mentioned in the book. So I'm just giving you a little background how much he respected Chaturmasya Prabhu. They had a nice feast, and Prabhu was not doing so well toward his life, health-wise. Then Guru Maharaj told him, don't worry, you built a temple. Lord has made a nice place for you in Vaikuntha. Haribol.
He called also New Jersey temple president to do it his cremation. Then temple devotee going and did their cremation.
Yes. Yep.
Nandalal Prabhu, would you like to?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. There's just so much incredible nectar in this group. And thank you, Prabhu, for the update on Guru Maharaj. As we were reading the book, a bulb went off for me in that in relationship to the land and acquisition. That was really the essence of the Bhagavad Gita between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, was really based on land. And the indicator there is when you surrender unto the Lord, there's definitely a victory involved. We need to surrender unto him. And Prabhu mentioned that Delhi tends to be the center of politics, and there is no greater politician than the Lord. We can never supersede him. So I think the key word is surrender. And again, thank you to all the God brothers, God sisters. Incredible nectar. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, this is such nectar, isn't it? It's like actually, Chaturmasya Prabhu, I learned something today, because Maharaj would always be so respectful to him, and I didn't know his history. Like, at one time in a Vyas Puja, he said that Guru Maharaj has said that I should stay in Vrindavan, something like that. And I was thinking, who says that? But now the story is, Guru Maharaj is so grateful. I always, one thing I always noticed, that anyone who helped him in his projects for Prabhupada's service, he's so grateful to them. He never forgets them. Like for the rest of their life, he'll like, and I didn't know about this until we read it today, and Jagannath Priya Prabhu told this also. Bhakti Yoga Prabhu, I think.
Yeah, in the Agni Puran, it mentions one who builds a temple of Lord Hari is guaranteed to go back home, back to Godhead, and take 7 generations. And so even if when we preach, we tell people that, but even people don't believe, here Guru Maharaj is blessing Chaturmasya Prabhu that he's definitely going back home, back to Godhead. So Prabhupada said that we should act in such a way that Krishna sees us. So if we act in such a way that Guru Maharaj sees us, he'll bless us and we can succeed in our service. Thank you.
Prabhu, Chaturmasya Prabhu, when he left body also this day Ekadashi.
Wow.
Yeah, he left body New Jersey. He just stay with the son. So this day also Ekadashi. Remember this thing.
So that day is the day of Lord Hari. And actually in the Agni Puran, it mentions you build a temple for Hari. So there.
Many of these devotees, like eventually they had some problem and they, were not so active, or they didn't like stay. But Maharaj is always like so loving towards them and conscious of their service, that their service stays forever. Like I remember there's another devotee who was a temple president for a long time in India, a very large temple. And then, that devotee actually became, deviant, like he actually left ISKCON and whatnot. And everyone in the GBC was saying, we should correct him, kick him out, don't let him this, that. And Maharaj was just remembering the other side. He was like, no, he's done so much service. We must, and he actually gave him a position in the Delhi temple just to keep him connected and to express his gratitude to him. Anyone who does service, like the Lord never forgets. That's what I remember. Guru Maharaj never forgets. Like there's no one more grateful than him that I found in this world. Yeah.
I do agree with that concept, because even if you have not big service, little service, even few minutes or maybe one day, he does not forget it. And he's also very, very kind and merciful that he just, ignores all this mischievous thing that devotee has done. There are so many devotees like that, because we've seen last 50 years that a lot of devotees came, served and left, or they did not even left. They steal money from the temple or abuse the temple. Still, Guru Maharaj is always forgiving them and giving second chance and third chance. This Guru Maharaj is so kind, so merciful, and any small service you do, Guru Maharaj reciprocates with you.
Yeah,
So that's
you
not
remember-
definitely.
I remember Delhi temple, one devotee took Mangalati time donation box and left. And this devotee still doing service in the Delhi temple,
Yes.
still Parthasarthi temple.
Yeah. And some
He
and
took
some,
donation box.
and some devotees criticize Guru Maharaj for that. They are offending, because this as well, your Guru Maharaj is not very strict. He does not follow. Somebody is abusing temple, should be kicked out. I say we know that, but he's a unique. Guru Maharaj is a unique personality. Nobody can match with him in current situation that we see. Any devotees you see in ISKCON all over the world, no one can match. We are so kind. I mean, we are so fortunate. We are so fortunate.
Yes, just like
And
Lord
actually-
Nityananda. Example, Nityananda.
And actually, Guru Maharaj is following his Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. During Srila Prabhupada's time, there were instances where devotees absconded with money
Right.
and did unspeakable things, and Prabhupada just reassigned them somewhere else, and not kick them out, or not. Even devotees suggest that the police be called, and Prabhupada said, "No, let's solve this within our family, with ourselves, among ourselves." But Guru Maharaj is actually following, I think it's the third chapter of the first canto, where Prabhupada talked about if a devotee falls away, we should remember all the good things that they've done. And so Guru Maharaj is a shining example of that, where he remembers all of the good things, and he's giving devotees a second chance. After all, we all are getting a second chance here in this material world. Krishna is giving us the opportunity to come back and see him face to face.
Yeah.
We just have to take it.
I remember one personal servant would steal from Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj knew it, and he still wouldn't let him go. It's like we would always have to be in anxiety over money, because we knew that the person traveling with us is going to steal it. And we just like, Guru Maharaj, there's 100 other services, just engage him somewhere else. But he wouldn't let him go. And one person, one devotee, actually threatened to beat Guru Maharaj, and he's still serving.
Yeah.
He's serving. And under Guru Maharaj, like not as his personal servant. This is not a personal servant, but he was in one of Maharaj's temples, and still he's serving. Maharaj didn't kick him out.
And Guru Maharaj also has a lot of servants that they're not his disciple, but they're very close to serving him. And they really, because he does not look at his my disciple or somebody else's disciple. He actually sometimes give more importance to that other disciples than us. We also notice that, because he thinks he's so kind and so merciful. He's a unique, as I said, he's a unique personality.
I can give example for the
Huh?
Baltimore devotee. He was telling me, and they said, "Oh, you're not my disciple."
Oh yeah, Gokul Nanda, yes. Yeah, there was one devotee, I think, in Baltimore temple, Gokul.
Yeah,
Gokulpati. He's Jai Pataka Maharaj's disciple. I believe.
Yes, correct.
And he was serving Guru Maharaj, so Mumbai, and he says, "Well, you are my disciple." So, no, Jai Pataka Maharaj disciple. But he was serving so nicely, and he just think that he's his disciple. Yes.
Gaparal Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, remember when we go to Ekachakra, the Lakshmana Prabhu took Guru Maharaj ring. You remember that day? What happened?
No.
I was there, no? The Mayapur to going Ekachakra.
Yeah, I was there, but I don't remember this incident.
See, Prabhuji left body. He took Guru Maharaj ring and left. Then Guru Maharaj, when he looking his bit bag, now have a ring. They call everybody. They still Guru Maharaj, after Guru Maharaj, no, he took, still Guru Maharaj keeping his servant. When going to Ekachakra, this time happened, no? Mahamantra Prabhu came, the Mahamantra Prabhu understood who took. Then Mahamantra Prabhu took Lakshman to the ring and putting one Russian devotee bead bag. Then tell to Guru Maharaj, oh, you started chanting bead bag, chanting and keep his bead bag. Guru Maharaj understood this one happened. Still Guru Maharaj keep his service.
And for Guru Maharaj to lose Prabhupada ring is like a biggest loss, you know.
Yeah, yes.
You can see that. It's not ordinary ring for him.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Yes. I mean, that ring is his life and soul.
Yes, it is.
Compassion is so great that he could lose that, yet he's still not giving.
The watch and the ring both.
Yeah. Several times when I'm with him, he asks, if you take the ring off to go to the bathroom or something, he'd ask, where's the ring? I cannot lose that ring. Srila Prabhupada gave it to me.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Guru Maharaj is so careful and shrewd with money. So it's not due to his lack of concern for Krishna's money that he acts like this. It's out of his immense compassion that the devotees matter to him, everything. One time in Delhi, some devotee was not taking good care of the visiting devotees. And it was one of the few times I actually saw Guru Maharaj lose his, actually raise his voice. So this devotee who was assigned to take care of the visiting devotees, he came in Maharaj's room. Maharaj raised his voice and said, how can you do this? Was very angry at him. And then in the evening, he called that devotee back again. And he said, you see, my heart cries when I see devotees suffer. So that's why I became so angry with you. You have to understand these devotees are coming from such far away. They don't know the language. They don't know where they're going. And I told you to stand at the gate and receive them. And instead you went, this devotee, went shopping or disappeared something, the disciple. I said, I asked you to be there, but you weren't the whole time. I was thinking you're there. And so many devotees, they didn't get care. They didn't get a room. And he was so angry. So he actually lives that.
Actually, Guru Maharaj, speaking of money, when I was staying in Mayapur and one day I was in his room and some Russian Matajis came in and they asked Guru Maharaj for money. I think Gopal Hari Prabhu, you might have been there. I can't remember now. You might have been a servant. Anyway, they asked for money and then he told his servant, whether it was you, to give them. So when they left the room, I said, Guru Maharaj, these Matajis have money. He says, how do you know? I said, I just saw them in Govinda's. Before I came to your room, I saw them sitting there eating. And he says, really? I said, yes. He said, but they said they have no money. I said, yeah, how did they come to India from Russia? He said, anyway, they don't have money. Russians are poor, so let them take it.
That is true. That is always says like that.
This is Prabhu, this 2012, Pada 7 Prabhu this time. Maharaj Secretary.
Yeah.
2012.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. Pada 7 Prabhu this time Secretary.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny.
Prabhu, you should start writing those kind of things. Otherwise, we're getting old. Memories is going down. We forget who was there, who was not there. If you some good incidents, start writing somewhere. Maybe you can start writing on this group. Maybe
some of them you can't really write because one time I drove Guru Maharaj to New Vrindavan from Toronto. And this was in 1986, I believe, was Kirtanananda Swami had gotten hit on his head with an iron bar or whatever. So I drove Guru Maharaj to New Vrindavan. And when we were driving, I don't want to mention the person's name, but I put on a cassette tape of this devotee singing. He was a famous singer at the time. He still is, but I'm not mentioning his name. You probably know who it is. So I'm playing the cassette. And then Guru Maharaj asked me, he says, who is that? And then I told him the person's name. He said, don't listen to him. He's a Sahaja. So I took the tape out. But again, this devotee is still around. I don't want to mention his name. So I guess I can say devotee A, like when Satsut Maharaj wrote the Prabhupada Leela Amrita about the Delhi, the Bombay project, and he was mentioning Mr. N and Mr. this, and because the persons were still alive. So I guess we could write and we could say devotee A singing, instead of mentioning the devotee's name, because because this person is his godbrother. So.
Yeah.
Ananda Rupa Mataji or Prabhu, sorry, Ananda Rupa Prabhu, there's a hand up.
Ananda Rupa Mataji.
Ananda Rupa Mataji. Is she still there? Okay,
Yes.
yeah. Yes.
Prabhu-
Hari.
Mataji's, Prabhuji's, can you hear me?
Hari.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. So I just wanted to add, when whether you're around Guru Maharaj or not, you can clearly feel he's an embodiment of so much tolerance, patience, firm faith in the words of his Guru, just like Srila Prabhupada. And today, in all these readings, we are hearing so much in this Sangha, how much he has strong faith and conviction. And that too, his efforts are always such that he's trying to bring all souls closer to Krishna. In spite of whatever shortcomings devotees may have, he overlooks all faults and finds ways to engage us all in services. So, his kindness and mercy on all the devotees, irrespective of whether they are his disciples or not, I guess we have all seen, this shows his higher vision. And so thank you so much for this book reading and opportunity to learn more about the exemplary life of dear Guru Maharaj. And we can take inspiration from it to follow in his footsteps.
He always telling us that become a honeybee, be like sucking the honey rather than madhumakhi, makhi. And try to find good qualities and ignore the bad things. Unfortunately, we cannot do that. We are not doing it, so that's the problem. But this is advice.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mataji, for that comment. It's 10:05. I think just for the sake of time, I think we should end now so that we stay on time. We're just 5 minutes over. And I really actually thought that this, Sangha is so inspiring for us. Really felt really grateful every time, but especially this time for the association. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatidobhyascha kripa sindhubhyaya vacha patitanam pavanbhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Goti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. All of you ki jai.
Thank you, devotee. Thank you so much.